As Mr. John HS just said in the chat, why would we ever want to watch Danny instead of Magnus? That's exactly right. You wouldn't. And as I broadcast live to you from chess.com on the Chess Today show, round 3 of the London Chess Classic is underway. So not all of you will be watching this live, but you may be watching this later in one of our many different formats of a video on demand. And I'm gonna take a quick look at the awesome game yesterday. Awesome because the dragon was played right after I just did a show saying that the dragon was dead. So the dragon lives. Hikaru Nakamura played it against Maxime Vachier-Lagrave in round 2 of the London Chess Classic. That's going to be our big story, the thing we're going to focus on and have some fun diving into that game. There's also been some interesting news items coming out. Mike had another other news where he gathers a bunch of fun news stories. If you don't read Mike Klein's other news posts, then you miss some kind of funny and interesting stuff going on in the world of chess culture. So, plus we should have a new chess center coming out today, recorded over the weekend, and we're working on it. So a lot of stuff coming your way in regards to chess.com, but as we do first and foremost, it's time to solve the daily puzzle. I love saying that, the daily puzzle. Congratulations, Alice. Right there, you found the daily double. Thanks, Alex. So we are going to solve the daily puzzle, material versus checkmate, apparently. Instantly, we see the winning move for white. If you don't see the checkmate on the board yet, go ahead and... can you pause the live show? Because I'm about to show you, right? Okay, we're going to start with queen takes h6, followed by queen takes g7. Sort of interesting when you say the title is material versus checkmate, because I think most amateur beginner players, if you have the queen on the board, you feel like you're winning, even if your opponent has a dozen pieces, right? But obviously that's not the case here. White is down a queen for 2 rooks and a minor, if I did my math correctly. But you know, this is just all these puzzles are always fun training. You want to get to the point where everything's just instantaneous, and sometimes it's easier for others. The more you solve daily puzzles, because you just know kind of what to look for. You can sort of smell it out. But anyway, a fun little daily puzzle there. We have checkmate in 2. I'm going to check in with the chat at both Twitch TV/chess as well as chess.com TV before we quickly roll into some more interesting chess. So, hey everybody there. We got a lot of people, much more active Twitch chat, I think, because a lot of the people at chess.com TV are not hearing my words right now. They're listening to the London Chess Classic. So if you're joining us, apparently I have stuff in my throat today. Got my workout on. This is my my shake bottle. Oh, it's spilling too. You guys have one of these? Right? You get your protein mix all up in it. You got it. Yay, that's disgusting. Tastes like chalk. Love it. All right, so a lot of you also may be watching both streams, both this and the London Chess Classic. But either way, thank you for being here. Give a shout out to John HS59, SnapC1. We got Geppetto. We got subscriber PetaJ31. How are you doing? Love to see that sub, that green pawn. If you keep subbing, that green pawn's going to upgrade itself pretty soon to a golden pawn. Hey, who doesn't want a golden pawn? I want a golden pawn. Anyway, so... lots of fun we're going to have here going over this dragon battle between 2 of my favorite players of all time and of today's era, of course, that being Hikaru Nakamura and Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. So let's do it. Let's navigate ourselves back to the live chess arena. I've already prepared this analysis for all of you. If you are just joining us and would like to know where you can follow this game live, I'm going to go ahead and hit you with a golden pawn, not a golden pond, Arshem13 in the Twitch chat. Look at that. Jablaska just subscribed with Twitch Prime. Thank you, Jablaska, for subscribing to our channel. Let's get that cheer up. Can someone come and drop a little bit higher than a 2,000 cheer today? Come on, you know you love it. There's a link in the chess.com TV chat as well if you're interested in following the analysis live in the chess.com arena. So there you go. Here we do. There we go. So ignore the analysis. If you want, I can even turn it off. It's not... Some of you like the analysis, some of you don't. I can turn everything off if it makes you feel better. Let's do that. That way you're just focused on whatever instructional words come out of my mouth. We know there's probably going to be less than 5 out of about 5,000. But anyway, but in all seriousness, so for those of you who don't know, I played the dragon regularly during my professional career, whatever that was, my short-lived, where I was really, I would consider my only truly years as a chess professional would be the years 17, 18, 19, where I, made international master, graduated high school. I was one of the top players in the country under 21. I think at one point I was number one besides Hikaru Nakamura. But I played the Dragon a lot. So I make fun of the Dragon. I talk about Dragon players being addicts and all that stuff. Hi, my name's Danny. I play the Dragon. But the truth is, jokes aside, and me talking about the Dragon for all its flaws, it's one of my personal favorite openings. And you don't see it at the highest levels anymore, and that's one reason why this game was so newsworthy, because starting with this mainline position here, there are really two main lines that White has, right? There's 9 castles long, as well as bishop to c4. In the game, MVL decided to go into the more traditional, the more classical Dragon lines with bishop to c4. One of the advantages of playing castles long is you sort of don't waste any time with making a couple bishop moves. It's always going to be 2 because your bishop is never going to sit tight on c4, and it didn't in this game. So you you save that time, and you try to use that time to accelerate the attack, but positionally, the sacrifices made for White are, 1, you have not prevented the breakthrough of d5. That can lead to some of the really most dynamic variations in the Dragon. And then there's also lines where they trade here and play bishop b6. That's another way to sort of punish, if you will, the lack of a white squared bishop for White on c4. So I'm not going to go into all the Dragon theory, but just so you understand that in this moment here, move 9, this is a big philosophical decision that is made, and it often reveals the type of prep that the player has been spending their time in most recently, because the variations are much, much deeper than this, but this is kind of a critical moment as far as Dragon aficionados. When we review the games, I'm always curious, is he playing 9 castles long or bishop c4? So anyway, so he plays bishop c4. Now we get a main line. Now, after h4, we have another crossroads, and Nakamura reveals his hand with the move h5. Now, this is interesting. Let's flip the board from Black's perspective here, because what this tells me, not seeing the Dragon a lot at the high levels these days, is Hikaru has plans to, okay, this is the Soltis. Okay, this move, h5, is the Soltis variation of the Dragon. That's what defines the idea. What is the idea? Black is obviously trying to prevent not only h5, but possibly even g4 by having a pawn on h5. And he's doing everything he can to slow down the ultra-deadly Yugoslav pawn formation, which is where all these pawns just get rolling, right, toward the king side. They want to open up the rook, drop the bishop on h6, and as Fischer said, sack, sack, mate, right? I do not know what's wrong with my throat. I'm not sick. I don't... I feel like I swallowed something. I've never cleared my throat this many times on air, at least not during chess shows, right? Not this movie. So my apologies for that. Okay, Sam Copeland commenting in the Chess TV chat, he loves g4. G4 is not as good as bishop c4 or castles long, but I do love you, Sam. I don't know what's going on. Accelerated Dragon, better than regular old Dragon. Okay, so Job, E.G. Dems in the Twitch chat, first of all, this game was really interesting, and we're gonna. I have analyzed it, so I do have some. I would say I learned something from this game. Anytime you see 2 top players play an opening that you've been playing your whole life, where you already have that kind of experience and knowledge of the pawn structures and the middle game tactics and plans, and then you see them play it, it's always kind of fun to kind of, to see what you can add on to your knowledge. But I think the main thing that h5 says, as I digress here, is it says that Hikaru is not interested in playing the sharpest lines with where usually White is just sacrificing the pawn these days before they even castle. And this was cool because I agree. I think that those are White's most dangerous lines. And I think that those lines, if you want to talk about the accelerated move order, I'll show this to you here because somebody here was commenting. So let's talk about the accelerated move order. I think that line, the rush h4, h5, is one of the key lines that White can and should play against the accelerated move war, where you go out of your way for bishop c4, bishop b3, d6, f3. This is all main line. And now after bishop d7, this line here, already playing h4 with the threat of h5, is one that the computers really like. especially if you push them and prod them where they may not initially be thrilled about sacrificing the H-pawn. The last level of high-level preparation I was doing in this line told me that the faster white sacrifices the H-pawn and then just castles, those positions become harder and harder for black to play. And I think that that's really where the future of these bishop c4, bishop b3 lines fall, is white rushing the H-pawn as quickly as possible without really preparing it with g4 or even worried so much about castling long right away. So anyway, I'm not going to get into all that prep, but that was kind of cool because I agree with that theory. And Hikaru is not going to allow h5. He's going to rather play the Sultas. And the issue with the Sultas, I highlighted the good things about it. It stops h5, it stops g4, but you waste a significant tempo. And every move you make on the king side is one more potential weakness for white to pick apart. So now with the move bishop b3 being played voluntarily by MVL, we're literally in some lines that I've prepared as an accelerated dragon player. So I wasn't saying that, who was the username in Twitch? Job, J, EG Dumbs. I wasn't even saying that to disagree with you necessarily. I actually agree that the accelerated move order can hold some more flexibility for black. But I think that if white really knows what they're doing, it doesn't really change. The Yugoslav attack should still have the dragon on its heels no matter what. Is this interesting to you guys? I hope so. I know I always ask that, and then pretty much whether you say yes or no, I'm going to keep doing it. But this is a little bit of a different tempo of the Chess Today show. Again, if you're just joining us, reminder, the game we are looking at was sort of the featured highlight from the London Chess Classic, which is really the biggest event going on in the chess world to start the month of December. Still all peaceful results coming out of the United Kingdom, but yesterday we had an awesome dragon between Nakamura and MVL, and as a dragon player who also regularly makes fun of dragon players on his shows, I decided that it would be a good topic for the Chess Today show. And like I said, if you're just joining us, you missed the daily puzzle already, so shame on you. Be here when the show starts, darn it. All right, so bishop b3, rook c8, knight e5, and one of the other dangers of playing the Sultas is black is no longer in a position really to go for the Chinese dragon move order. For those of you who don't know, the traditional dragon placement of the rook is exactly what you see here. You use the half-open c-file. After the knight comes to e5, you're doing a number of things. One, trying to play knight c4 to get rid of this very dangerous light square bishop. You're also, in a lot of positions, sacrificing the exchange. We'll see that was a common theme throughout this Nakamura MVL game today. And using the open c-file sometimes with queen a5 and rushing the b-pawn. This is more of a, okay, use what the pawn structure's already giving you move, right? The pawn structure's already giving you the open c-file. It's already giving you the chance to use that to gain tempi and get some pressure. The Chinese dragon, for those of you who don't know, and it's sort of a big change in black's approach. The Chinese dragon has the intention of not using what the structure is currently telling you, but actually changing the structure with moves like rook b8, and if white just makes move, we play knight e5, b5, and by dropping the pony on c4, let's say white just makes bad moves. I'm just going to prove the point. This new b file is a potentially even more dangerous file than the c file, okay, because it goes for this square that is only defended by the king. And a lot of the sharp lines of the Chinese dragon, let's say main lines Chinese dragon, which you can't reach here after black has played the Sultas. If you're curious, those lines I think still offer black the most winning chances. Carlsen played it a few years ago. I think that's pretty much backed up by if you have the opportunity in a mainline dragon to play the Chinese structure, a lot of people like this. But why did I say you can't play a Chinese dragon anymore? Because black has played h5. Once you've committed this significant tempi, you no longer have time for, let's say, put it this way, let's say the Chinese dragon has maybe a better positional idea in mind because the b file is potentially more lethal. It also takes more time and it's slower. And this, if you tried to go for this, what white would have done is just immediately start going for moves like g4. This is just coming, and it's already problematic. And after here, just probably h5. And white is not taking any time, not wasting any time on the clock, or metaphorical speedway, insert not wasting any time, metaphor, to just run through the h-file and rock and roll. In these positions, of course, you already have immediate threats like rook takes h5, pawn takes queen to g5, followed by mate and bake on g7. So this is exactly the kind of line that once you've committed the Sultas, you can't afford to play some of these modern Chinese dragon, a5, b5. Any of those sort of more modern move orders are off the table once you've committed to the Sultas. That is a fact. So that means we knew we were going to get traditional Sultas, and this is still all theory even to here. And so I was kind of on the edge of my seat, because when I'm looking at this game, these are all the things I'm noticing, and I'm trying to share it with all of you today. I'm not just click, 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 right? Okay, let's be honest. I do just click, 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 click. When I first look at a game, I go like this. I I bring it up in the seat, and I go, oh, dragon. This is what I do alone in the office, and I look around if anybody's watching. Did you see there's a dragon? And they're like, no. And then I just go. And then I go again, because I want to make sure I'm not right. And then I see it all. Anyway, just kidding. But that's what I do. So really, I do just click through it. But the Rook C5 move has a few intentions. One of them is to be able to meet the traditional Soltis idea of F4 and E5. Why is that a traditional Soltis idea? Well, okay. One of the things that White's doing here to pick apart the Soltis structure is putting pressure on different types of weaknesses now, right? You've got the diagonal, you've maybe got ideas of the pony popping in here, and then we maybe have double pressure, double the fun on E7. But in a lot of lines, the idea of F4 coming with tempo, followed by both F5, which as you can see if you start looking at the light squares and all the pressure White brings, but also F4 follows E5, which if you could open up the D file, and then the knight has to move, because you can imagine there's a pawn there at the end of that line, right? The D7 bishop becomes under fire. So let's say Black does something weird. I just want to show you the line. Okay, and there's also kinds of weird moves here, by the way, like Rook takes C3, and then, so this is, just for those of you who are really dragon experts out there and feel like I'm not aware of the tactics, I'm aware of those tactics, but I'm trying to illustrate the point here. The point is, after like a slow move, which unfortunately a lot of people play, or even actually, yeah, actually even on B5, which is not necessarily a slow move. This is a traditional dragon move that a lot of people might play. Even after that move, it can be bad. After F4 takes, I don't care how you take back, and then E5, and now you see what's opening up here is serious tactical problems. If you move the knight without opening the D file, these types of tactics, whether it was a rook here or a pawn here, are already big problems for Black. So that's one idea, right? And if you take it, then after they take, you move the knight somewhere. There's the bishop is hanging. I don't even remember the theory, but probably there's all kinds of weird stuff here. Let's see. What would be... I have no idea what's going on here. With my throat, I mean. With my throat. Maybe we should be a little careful E5 unless we're going to go for like the knight D5 ideas. And anyway, so this is a common tactical theme to be aware of. That's something that White is sort of shooting for. So there you go. Very nice. Okay. Rook C5. Still all theory. King B1. Rook E8. Now this was awesome. Because Rook E8 is a move that is not the most... if you look up a whole bunch of games in this database, Rook E8 was not like a super common idea for a long time in the Dragon. But it's become more popular in the computer age because the computers love meeting bishop H6 with bishop H8. They love saving this bishop here for Black. In a lot of lines, if you're doing like dragon prep. And so Rook E8 does a few things, right? Prophylaxis, holds the E7 pawn for coming tactics, and it prepares in most lines to meet bishop H6 with bishop H8, which is kind of a game changer in the Dragon, because normally that extra tempo is not something Black can do, one, because the rook is hanging, secondly, because you may not have the time to waste another move when they just may be, going caveman and just prying open the H file anyway. So Rook E8 is definitely an interesting move as far as like a sign of the how I can't speak to the depth of Nakamura or MVL's preparation. I'm not here on Chess TV claiming to do that. I'm just trying to provide the knowledge, and like you start to notice these things, and I can tell you that if you study these positions with computers, this is sort of a common idea for Black, I think, that's really on the rise. It has been played before, but it just wasn't the most popular move yet. So now we had G4. And as Boykov said, which inspired me to maybe think we should talk more about this, he talked about how Kasparov's influence on this generation, we know he's worked with both Nakamura and Carlsen at different times, has had both Carlsen and Nakamura play the Dragon. So just made a note here that bishop H6 was also the same idea, this Rook E8 idea. This whole approach here was played by both Nakamura and Carlsen. And after bishop H6, A5, queen to B6. Okay, so this ended up leading... I don't know how deep Carlsen's preparation was here. Rook takes C3 really works here, by the way, because the queen is overloaded. to the bishop on h6, right? Queen can't take it. So after takes, you got this knight takes f3 tactic, knight takes e4 tactic. This is another way that black can kind of destroy the whole structure that makes the exchange stack work. And this was a game that Carlsen had against Karyakin from Dubai in 2014. I guess that was the World Rapid and Blitz. Wasn't that the World Rapid and Blitz that Carlsen won? If I asked the chat that? Pretty sure that's true. Anyway. Yeah, so checking in on the chat there, all 400 of you watching this show live, appreciate it. Questions, how long has this been going? About a half hour, a little less. But I don't want to scroll back through all of it because I'm kind of in the analysis zone. This is an instructive chess today. We're analyzing the dragon deeply. But okay, just making sure not missing anything. Yeah, the dragon, I'm not really in the names. What exactly? The dragon is defined as, hey there, Distant Fire, I see you. The dragon is defined by what we first talked about. Got to answer your question. You're a sub. I can't ignore you. The dragon is officially defined right here by this pawn move. So that you're asking for a literal definition as a beginner player. I know this analysis is a little advanced on this particular day. So if you're wondering what defines the dragon, it's this move g6. Okay, there's a6, that's a Najdorf. There's knight to c6, that's a classical Sicilian. e6, that's a Scheveningen Sicilian, right? There's also different move orders before that can lead to Sveshnikov or, whatever you want to talk about, Taimanov, but the actual literal what is now a dragon is this, and it's named after the Chinese astrological star formation of a dragon. So there's like a star formation that's like a dragon and represents like the dragon's head and its tail. So I'm not a dragon star formation expert. Should we look that up real quick? Chinese dragon star formation sign? I don't know. What is it? Okay. What star sign? What is the sign? So here's the dragon. So obviously, if you look at this, and then you look at the G6 structure, right? This is the head of the dragon. This is the tail of the dragon. Can you guys get a mini dragon out of this? Can you get a little mini dragon here with like the head and I don't know. So that's the dragon formation. How does it actually look in the stars? I don't know. But I should know. Okay, I don't know. You caught me. Let's move on. So that's what the dragon is there, buddy. There you go, sub. I bet you never thought you'd get that detailed of an answer on what exactly is the dragon. Well, now you know. Okay, so now we're back to the advanced stuff. So we're knee-deep here in Soltis theory. If you missed it, Nakamura played the dragon, one of the first times it's been featured at the high levels all year. In fact, Sam, are you still in chat? Is this the first time the dragon has been played, let's say, at a Grand Chess Tour event or an elite, not Rapid and Blitz? Is this the first time the dragon has been played in a classical event amongst two of the world's top 10 this year? I think it is. I can't quickly remember another dragon in a classical slow time control event. The dragon is very popular in Rapid and Blitz because it's super tricky and dangerous, but I'm pretty sure this is, it's one of the first times the dragon has been played at high level. So Sam's like, thanks, Danny, for asking me something. I don't know. All right, so after King B1, Rook E8, talked about the theory here. Here comes G4. H takes G4, F4. This is a common idea in the Soltis, partly because you take advantage of the fact that the knight can't come to G4. So your idea is to sort of fill this square. You fill this square, which opens up the H file for white, and you prevent black from bringing the knight to G4, where all of the knights might be protecting each other. As an example, you may not be excited about playing F4 here. Now the knights, everybody and their cousin is just like, everybody's protecting each other. Very difficult for white to get an edge there. So at this point as white, you're all about creating avenues for the attack, even at small amounts of material. So you open up this to play F4, and your idea after knight to C4, the traditional idea for justifying this sort of F4 thing would be to take and play E5, but that's not what we went for here. I'm actually curious, what is the theory here? I'd have to look up this position. What would have happened on takes in E5? My instincts tell me black immediately responds with an exchange sack, because this is similar to things we've seen before. And black has a pawn for the exchange, and this past G pawn is also kind of irritating. That's just my first thought, that why this is no longer the right line. So after knight c4, queen to d3 was played, which is a double attack here. Black plays knight a5, trying to eliminate the bishop. And after takes f6, we have our first official novelty. So despite all the talking I've done so far, everything up till this point has actually been played before already. So the move that had been played previously was h5, and this would be the caveman style we're talking about for white to play the Yugoslav attack. You opened up the h-file to really force your way through. But this was already played, and analysis both of the game that it was played in and with computers later show that black is actually doing really well here, starting after knight takes h5, and then the typical approach, which is to sacrifice the exchange on c3, which is also what made me think rook takes d4 was the move earlier. Because this position, why is black doing fine here? So you're down the exchange, but let's say after takes and takes, you've completely closed off the king side from really being an issue, short of tons of sacrifice. Like, they would need time to sacrifice and then come again, right? I mean, it's just, there's not enough time for white to generate any kind of attack. In the meantime, black actually is threatening to win yet a second pawn for the rook. So if we went into an endgame where black has a couple pawns, a couple of bishops for the exchange, you feel like black's chances are actually really good here. So MVL, he didn't say in his interview, by the way, did any of you catch the interview? I wonder if we could watch it right now. Nah, it's probably too slow. You guys probably be bored by that. But if you missed the interview, I'll throw it in Twitch chat. Throw it over here. Maxime talked a little bit about it. Unless I missed it, he didn't talk about what his coach, what the preparation was, but he did allude that he feels like he forgot some of his preparation against the Soltis Dragon. So he didn't say exactly what that was, but I'm curious, and my instincts tell me it's something right around here. Either not g4 or with g4, something slightly different. He played for bishop takes f6. Which, again, as ugly as this initially looks, one of the biggest problems for white, if you go for this, is, you're not checkmating black in the middle of the board if you ever have to give up your dark square bishop for anybody but this bishop, right? You're changing gears, meaning you're trying to take advantage of the weak d pawn, right? Positionally, you may be looking for other types of advantages, like this d5 square as an outpost square for your knight. So not to say white isn't still actually a little bit better here, maybe, but you're already headed down much more unclear roads in my book, when you're giving up the dark square bishop for anybody but the dragon bishop. We call this the dragon bishop because it's the beast that really makes the dragon tick, right? There we go. Let's get a little visual of that dragon. Should do bop. There we go. That's our dragon. That's our Chinese star formation. The dragon is the 5th of the 12 Chinese zodiac animals. Each year has an animal sign according to a 12-year cycle. Years of the dragon include, so am I a dragon? I'm not a dragon. If you're born in 88, isn't Nakamura a dragon? Isn't he born in 88? When's Nakamura's birthday? Hikaru Nakamura. Let's check out his wiki. Hikaru Nakamura, born, no, he is 1987. No, he missed dragon by very close. December 1987. So Hikaru is not a dragon as far as Chinese zodiac is concerned. But anyway, so you're already down much more unclear roads. And Maxime did this purely for the follow-up, which is bishop d5, which is interesting because normally the balance for white in the dragon is you give up this bishop for the knight, in many cases because you have to, whether it's because the knight is forking the queen and bishop or because black takes it, right? Very often that bishop will fall for a knight. But you almost never give up this bishop for the knight, right? So this is a little bit of a change of gear, which is instructive. He recognizes, either from a practical perspective, as MVL knows he forgot his prep, or maybe he doesn't buy something about Nakamura's approach with the rook and the knight over here and the potential knight on the rim, right, being grim, right? And that's a heads-up play, and that's something that, as you learn all the theory of these lines, you know that positionally, in order to stop something, like h5 is played to stop the brute force Yugoslav attack, other sacrifices are made, always, in terms of time and the way your pieces are coordinated. So Maxime decides to do his best to change gears. He takes on f6, which is a novelty, and comes up with this idea pretty much over the board. To save the light squared bishop, rather than the dark squared bishop, immediately threatening things like b4, and trying to gain some time here based on the fact that black's pieces suddenly are looking a little uncoordinated, right? So anyway, again, I'm probably way over analyzing this game, and I'm doing it for selfish reasons because I love the dragon for both sides. But this was one of those moments where I'm like really now on the edge of my seat, right? Like, okay, clearly this was a novelty, so Was it prep? We found out afterwards, MVL confirmed he came up with it over the board. He actually admitted to forgetting his prep, and he kind of joked that he doesn't listen to his coach. You should watch the interview. Again, I gave you the link in the chat. But anyway, so now he forces black to lose some time. Has to bring the knight back to c6. Here, analysis said that maybe knight d to b5 was more critical, which avoids the trade of this knight and keeps this rook sort of totally out of place, right? White is not threatening to play b4 right away because the knight guards it, but something about this position is much more awkward for black, and it's not the traditional exchange sack where black can just comfortably say, okay, my rook's out of play, don't worry about it, I'm just going to bail out and stack the exchange. If you do it, you haven't gained anything. You haven't doubled white's pawns. So there's some interesting stuff here, and Dejan Boykov made a note about knight d to b5 might be critical to look at later, and I like it. I think that may be something we look at more later. But Maxime already had this idea in mind with knight takes c6, that he was going to follow it with the move bishop takes f7 check. Now, as fancy as this initially looks, and it does highlight, stays along the instructional lines I said, that the whole reason he took on f6 was to play a more positional approach, looking for different types of non-traditional dragon tactics, right? We're not just sack mating over here, Bobby Fischer style. But the problem is, as fancy as this looks, and you're double attacking the rook and the bishop, the truth is this is nothing more than a big trade into a rook and pawn ending. And that's what happens now. Rook takes c3. White is not able to take back, by the way, because even though the bishop is under attack and pinned, black can trade queens with tempo, with check, and then black can save the bishop and would be easily winning, so in case you're wondering. So that's what would have happened there. So instead, white has to take with check, which means we're getting this position. Taking here would mean that white goes down a piece. So everything you see at the end of this line was all forced. Black now has to save his rook since the smoke has cleared, and his rook is the only piece that remained under fire. And we have a rook ending. I spent a lot of time looking at the game all the way up to here, full disclosure, before the show today, just selfishly analyzing some fun chess. I don't know exactly what the final consensus was of the rook ending, so this should be instructive. I do know that my first instinct says like black is happy in this rook ending despite being down a pawn, because often rook endings are about who has the first pass pawn and whose king is potentially more active. So I'm pretty sure that this was not an endgame, that Nakamura was really ever in danger of losing. So if we're looking for successful points for the dragon, score 1 for the dragon. Let me ask him what he thinks here. What do you think about how the dragon went today? Well, I think it was pretty good. I mean, nevertheless, I had a good opportunity to, win, but I didn't get it. And but I almost won in the dragon, and I can't go into all my preparation, but I did learn something from Kasparov. I don't know. He's probably not going to say any of that. But just always fun to do crazy stuff on Chess TV. All right. I actually didn't watch Hikaru's interview. I probably should have done that, right? Hikaru had an awesome tweet. Hikaru had this awesome tweet, right? Which I should probably retweet for the love of the dragon. For the love of the dragon, retweet it. But I actually didn't see Hikaru's thoughts, so I'm going to watch that afterwards. Unless we can watch it now. Can we watch it now?
Hikaru, some of my friends were really excited to see a dragon today on the board. How did you get to that choice?
Well, I had kind of prepared this for Maxime in the recent FIDE Grand Prix in Palma, Mallorca, so it didn't occur in that game, so I figured why not play today.
And it's actually a really old theory, but on move 17 you were the first one to make a big think, and you actually played a novelty, I think, with knight a5.
Yeah, but I mean, I think maybe on queen e2, I think knight a5 is correct. I think on queen d3, queen c8 is correct. But I mean, I just couldn't remember the lines of the board, and I sort of felt like I didn't think knight a5 was just losing right away, and I started to see some ghosts with it, like queen c8, bishop f6 takes, and I think h5 or knight d5. I mean, both those kind of started to worry me a little bit. I suspect the position's fine because I mean, computers say it is, but at the board it's very hard, and so I played knight.
That is a good point there too. That again, the computers say that the dragon is fine, which is why, the Renaissance, right? But okay, it's really hard to play over the board if you're not ready to really back up your prep. But anyway, okay, so he didn't say exactly what I said he did, just having fun. I got to use the props I have, right? I mean, should we ask Maxime what he thinks? What'd you think? Well, I, didn't listen to my coach, and I had, didn't listen to my coach and had a chance to win. And no, I forgot my prep, but okay, it was an interesting game. Like, I don't know. There you go. I don't know. Apparently, I'm not that good at top player impersonations today. Anyway, but after rook g1, MVL is sort of highlighting that he knows this passed pawn is actually more dangerous than his h-pawn. He wants to create a situation where he can make sure that black's king activity and the g-pawn don't become a real problem. So he's going to trade the e-pawn for the g-pawn, but losing some time in the process. You kind of get the feeling that black, again, despite losing the pawns, is not going to be the one in danger of losing the game. And that's sort of what happened here. Repeating here mainly because black doesn't really want to play the king in front of f2 to avoid checks, because that would allow this pawn to be blocked. And then maybe white's pawns do get going, right? Because then you have the chance where the script could be flipped, where if black is slow enough and white gets going, white might even be willing to eventually give up the rook for the pawn, and win with the pawns outside of the board. So Hikaru's trying to avoid that, right? He doesn't want to slow down the threat of rushing the f-pawn. The threat of rushing the f-pawn is key, but at some point, Maxime calculates that, okay, his last chance would be to actually go for that sort of idea, where he gives up his rook for the pawn and make this idea with the pawns work anyway, but not enough time. And the draw is had. So, interesting stuff. I enjoyed that. That was a lot of fun. For me, anyway. Those of you who didn't know, Danny on point with the MVL impression. If that's being on point, well, I don't know. I'm just like, I say the one thing that everybody makes fun of Hikaru for saying, nevertheless, I think Amon Hamilton legendarized. Is legendarized a word? He legendarized that one. But I'm just having fun. So, Danny, is that the Batman logo behind your back? It's not. It's actually a green screen with an image. We had somebody take some stock image photo, just some interesting kind of abstract chess images. I don't want my camera to get fuzzy here. And that's a king and queen on like this massive fence with a sunset behind it. What do you think? Right? Interesting stuff? I don't know. I like it. Now I'm fuzzy. My camera's struggling to regain the focus. So that's all that is. But I want to thank everybody for being here today on the Chess Today show. Speaking of legendarizing Hikaru Nakamura impersonations, if someone's, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. So you got to be happy if you're Nakamura and MVL that people go out of their way to impersonate you. But speaking of Amon Hamilton, I'm pretty sure the chess bras are live. Pretty sure I need to figure out what's going on in my throat. Let's see. Pretty sure the chess bras are live right now, so all of you that are with us, obviously, much appreciated for tuning in here to the Chess Today show. Hopefully some of this dragon analysis was fun and instructive for you. Long live the dragon. The dragon lives. And now I'm gonna go ahead and bow out, get back to regular work here on chess.com. Thank you to Hikaru Nakamura and MVL for both of them joining us live. One more. They want to say hi one more time before they go. Thanks to both of them for joining me live today on the Chess Today show and for bringing the fans what they deserve with an exciting dragon at the London Chess Classic. There you go. Peace out, everybody. Go ahead and tune in to Amon Hamilton's. Eric Hansen, I think, is live on the Chess Pro thing. Why is my camera struggling to autofocus itself so much? I don't know. That's really frustrating. My camera is really struggling to autofocus itself. That's not something that it's ever struggled with before, so I apologize for that. Any Hooters, show's over. See you later.